I was told 2 Thursdays ago that Sheriff Scaman was in negotiations with the city to be interim chief. That was the only time that I heard or was talked to reference him becoming the interim chief. So Tuesday, when they voted to make him the interim chief, the first time I heard about that and what the contract was and everything was that Wednesday. And that was on your Facebook post. And so the first time I'd heard about it, as far as passing and or what was in it, was on Wednesday, reference your Facebook post. After I saw the Facebook post, I went across to the city secretary and asked her for what the contract looked like. So she gave me copies, and then I went up and informed our district attorney. And so then, because the things for us is making sure that it is legal, and the big concern of mine is to making sure funds don't mingle, because of the only way funds can mingle between government entities, which is the city and the county, has to be with an interlocal. And currently right now, there are concerns on both the county and I believe the city also, making sure that how we do it with the interim chief is make sure it's done correctly. So right now, our lawyer, Jody Gillum and John Reddington, are looking into it to ensure that it is done properly and that we haven't forgotten something.
Why wasn't there an interlocal agreement put in place first before it was brought to the council?
I will tell you, from my understanding, it was told to me that Mike Dixon had told the city council not to proceed with this matter because he was still looking it over. The interlocal, before today, it was not brought up at all to the commissioner's court. So the commissioner's court, the commissioner specific, had not heard anything in open court reference this. Now, I'm not saying that the commissioners may not have known, but I'm saying the commissioners, it had not been brought to the commissioner's attention, nor mine, Thursday before the vote, and it was brought to me, and I found out on Facebook on last Wednesday on your Facebook post of what was voted on and passed. That is the extent of my knowledge on what has been brought or said city-wise.
So just to be clear, right now, the motion that passed on last Tuesday for Sheriff Scaman to be interim chief is currently being put on hold pending the interlocal agreement between the city and the county.
Yes, that is correct. Without the interlocal and the specifics that need to go into the interlocal, which God bless, I'm not a lawyer, but that's what they're putting in. And so they're going to put the information in so that the city is assured of what they're getting and the county is assured what their understanding is. So that's why the interlocal is so important, is to make sure that it's a meeting of the mind so that when there's an issue, we can go back to the interlocal and point out who's not doing what their part. And that's a big deal. The benefit for the city, to my understanding, would be a monetary benefit, being that the city would be able to save money. Currently, right now, with the current contract, or the way that the interlocal is, the price agreed upon would get us about 2.8 people. The reason I say that is, if I were to hire 3 people, it would cost me $130,478 with pay and benefits. Right now, the city has agreed to pay us $125,000 to be able to do their dispatch. Right now, we didn't pass the interlocal because we're trying to figure out exactly all the nuances on the dispatch. Jody had done some of the dispatch, but to my understanding, there are still a few questions that we have to get ironed out between the city and concerns from the county, which will, I guarantee, make a few concerns from the city to make sure that it is done properly, and make sure that certain calls get or don't get to where they need to be. The problem we get in is on interlocal agreements, both the city and the county. Interlocals are made so that it's a benefit to both. We're definitely never going to get rich on it, but the good thing with the centralized dispatch, if it is done properly, that because we currently now dispatch for Rosebud and Lot. The Galinda doesn't have a police force, period. So we dispatch for them now. It's I know the call volume is much greater with Marlin than it is normally with our county dispatch. So we need to make sure that it doesn't overwhelm our current dispatchers. And with the additional 2 people that we could hire at the current price, would be able to handle the volume of calls from the city of Marlin that are not 911 calls. Because currently right now, all 911 calls go to the sheriff's department, and then they give them currently to the city, and the city then dispatches out. If it's just 911 calls, that wouldn't be a problem. What we have to ensure is that every call that goes into the police department from a ordinance violation or a loose dog, that it is taken care of, and somebody is sent to take care of or address that call. It is legal for us to be able to do it. Now, I would say 2 entities have to agree to it. Currently, right now, I would say from my understanding of the city's numbers, I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm too far off. It cost the city $190,000 to run its dispatch this year. From my understanding, it cost them $210,000 the year before. The dispatchers right now, the way the contract is at $125,000. That would save them $65,000. I would like to get 3 dispatchers out of it, which would require the city to pay slightly more than what it is right now. Let's just make it up. It cost me $130,000, then that's what I want the city to pay, what it cost me to do the job. So if they don't want to do that, that's fine. The county does not have to agree to the interlocal, and the city can run its own dispatch. Whether it saves money or doesn't, that is not a county issue. We're doing it because it's good for us, because we'll get a few more people. It'll be good for the city because they'll be able to save some money. But it has to be beneficial. It is beneficial to both, but currently right now at the price of $125,000, I can only get 2 dispatchers. And that puts a little kink in it that we may not be able to do it without the additional money, because it roughly costs $130,000, let's just say $500. That's what I need, because I want to pay them just like I do all my other jailers, dispatchers that run it right now. I want to pay them the same thing. I don't want to have to pay them less for that contract, or the interlocal agreement in this case.